I've been driving long haul for a little over 20 years now. Seen a lot of weird stuff over that time. Animals crossing the road where they definitely shouldn't. Random people walking the shoulder in the middle of nowhere. Weird lights out in empty fields with no houses for miles. Most of it you just explain away after a while. Fatigue, bad lighting, your brain trying to fill in the gaps, whatever. This one though, I still can't fit it anywhere in my head. It happened about 3 months ago, somewhere in the Midwest. Not gonna name the exact stretch or county, but if you've driven long enough, you probably know the kind of road I'm talking about. Flat, straight, dead quiet, nothing but pavement and the occasional exit that looks like it hasn't been updated since the 80s. I'd been rolling since late afternoon and decided to call it around midnight. There's this rest area I've used for years. Nothing special, just a couple fuel pumps, vending machines that half work, and a row of parking spots that are usually just full enough to feel safe but not packed. When I pulled in, everything looked normal. 8 or 9 rigs already parked, a reefer unit humming somewhere, one truck idling with its headlights still on. The overhead lights had that tired yellow flicker they always do. I parked in the middle, not too close to anyone, not too far, standard stuff. I saw an older guy walking toward the building as I climbed out. Ball cap, kind of stiff walk. Didn't think anything of it. Grabbed my stuff, went inside, took a shower. Water pressure was actually decent for once. Then I hit the vending machines for a sandwich, chips, and one of those canned coffees. Sat at one of the little plastic tables. 2 other drivers were in there, not talking, just staring off. Again, nothing that felt off. People get weird on the road. Went back to the truck, did my checks, locked up, and crashed. That's when I went wrong. I woke up with that sudden, something's not right jolt. No noise, no dream, just eyes wide open and my body already tense. First thing I noticed was the silence. If you've ever slept at a truck stop, you know it's never actually quiet. There's always something. Engines idling, tires on the highway, doors slamming, air brakes popping. Background noise you don't even notice until it's gone. It was completely gone. Not quiet, not distant, just nothing. I sat there listening for a second, thinking maybe I had earplugs in. I didn't. Looked out the window, empty. Every single truck that had been there was gone. No headlights, no idling engines, nothing. Just my rig sitting under those same flickering lights. Even the highway noise was missing. That bothered me more than anything. That road is never dead silent. Checked the clock, a little after 3 a.m. I figured maybe I slept longer than I thought and everyone had rolled out early. It happens. Still felt wrong, but I told myself to shake it off and get moving. Started the truck, pulled out of my spot, and headed for the exit loop. The layout is simple. One way in, one loop around the building, one way out back onto the highway. I followed the loop, hit the curb, and suddenly I was right back in the parking area. Same angle, same empty spots. My original parking spot still sitting open like I never left. I slowed down, thinking I'd somehow taken a wrong turn, even though there are no turns to take. It's literally just a loop. Drove it again, same thing. By the 3rd lap, my chest was getting tight. I'm not a nervous guy. You don't last 20 years in this job if you are, but this wasn't making any sense at all. Then I saw headlights. One truck, then another. In maybe 30 seconds, the whole lot was full again. Not all at once, but fast enough that it didn't feel real. They just faded in. Same rigs, same positions. The reefer, the idling truck with the headlights, everything. I parked again because I didn't know what else to do. I watched. One driver stepped down from his cab, the same older guy in the ball cap I'd seen earlier. His walk was even stiffer now, like his joints weren't bending right. Another guy walked past my truck. His steps were off, like video frame skipping. He'd be in one spot, then suddenly a few feet ahead with no movement in between. I know how insane that sounds. I stayed in my seat, doors locked, engine running. At some point, I must have dozed off again, because the next thing I remember, the clock said 4 a.m., and the older guy was standing right outside my window. Up close, his face looked wrong. Not horror movie wrong, just off. His smile was way too wide, stretched past where a normal smile should stop. Eyes open a little too much. He leaned in toward the glass, and started talking. I could hear him clear as day over the engine. He asked if I'd been here before. Not casual, like he already knew the answer. Then he said they all had, told me I should just stay one more night. The way he said it didn't sound like a suggestion. It sounded like a routine. I didn't answer, just stared. After a few seconds, he stepped back, still smiling that same smile, turned, and walked away in that jerky way. That's when I grabbed my phone and checked the dash cam. I needed something normal, something that made sense. The footage made it worse. It was glitching hard, frames missing and replacing themselves. 1 second the lot was empty, next second it was full, then empty again. At one point, it showed my truck sitting alone, while I was looking out the window and seeing all the other rigs right there. That was it for me. I didn't care about logs, routes, hours, nothing. I put it in gear and drove straight for the exit. This time, I cut it wide, almost off the pavement, just to break whatever loop I was stuck in. For a second, it looked like I was going to swing back into the lot again. Then suddenly, I was on the highway. Noise slammed back in all at once. A car passed me. I could hear tires on the road again. Everything snapped back, like someone flipped a switch. I drove until the sun came up. Didn't stop once. When I finally pulled over later that morning to check everything, 2 things stood out. First, my logbook had extra driving hours on it, routes I don't remember taking. Second, my whole cab smelled like old cigarettes. Not fresh smoke, that deep, stale, soaked into the fabric smell. I've never smoked a day in my life, and I don't let anyone smoke in my truck. It took days for the smell to finally go away. Here's the part that still messes with me the most. Every time I drive that same stretch now, around the same mile marker, my GPS tries to reroute me. Doesn't matter what destination I have set, it suddenly suggests a detour straight to that exact rest area. I ignore it every single time. But once, just once, I swear the exit sign flickered under my headlights, like those tired yellow lights in the lot. I didn't look too long, I just kept driving. I've been driving long haul for a little over 12 years now. I've seen my share of strange things out on the road, but most of them have a logical explanation if you sit with them long enough. Headlights playing tricks, animals moving weird at night, or your own tired brain filling in gaps when you're running on empty. You learn to shake it off and keep rolling. This one never sat right with me, no matter how many times I've gone over it. It happened a few years back on a twisty stretch of mountain road up in the Appalachians. Real narrow roads with tight curves, almost no shoulder in spots, and trees so close they felt like they were leaning in on the truck. I'd picked up a load late and was pushing through the night to make my delivery window. Around 2 a.m., the road was completely dead. No other traffic for miles. I had my windows cracked open because I like the cold air. It helps keep me alert. My headlights were the only light cutting through the dark. Then something crossed the road right in front of me. It was fast, too fast. At first I thought it was a deer, since that's usually what you see out there. But it didn't move like any deer I'd ever seen. It stayed low and pale, more like it slid across the pavement than ran. I barely had time to react. I slammed the brakes and swerved, but I still felt a light bump on the front right side. Just a clip, not a full hit. My stomach dropped instantly. I hate hitting anything, especially animals. As soon as I found a spot wide enough, I pulled over and sat there with the engine idling, staring into the mirrors. Nothing moved on the road behind me. I grabbed my flashlight and got out. The air outside felt colder than it should have, and unnaturally still, like the whole mountain was holding its breath. I walked back along the road, sweeping the light across the pavement, the shoulder, and into the trees. I expected to see fur, blood, tracks, anything. There was nothing. No marks on the road, no drag lines, no sound coming from the woods. Not even the usual night insects, just dead silence. I figured maybe whatever it was had kept going into the trees on its own. A glancing blow can do that sometimes. So I turned around and started walking back to the truck. That's when I noticed the front bumper. At first I thought it was just condensation from the cold air, but when I got closer and angled the flashlight, I saw them clearly. Small handprints pressed into the moisture on the metal. Several of them, overlapping slightly, like something had grabbed onto the bumper with flat little hands. They weren't random smudges. You could see 5 fingers and small palms, pressed from the outside. I stood there staring longer than I'd like to admit. I tried telling myself it was just water streaking weird or my tired eyes playing tricks, but they were too defined. I wiped one with my glove and it smeared like regular moisture before fading away. That was enough for me. I got back in the cab, shut the door, and sat there with my hands on the wheel, trying to calm down. I told myself I was just exhausted and seeing things that weren't really there. After a minute, I pulled back onto the road. About 10 minutes later, the CB radio crackled to life. The channel had been quiet for hours, so the sudden static caught my attention. After it cleared, a small, quiet voice came through, like a child talking over a bad connection. It said I had hit it. Then it asked why I had hit it. The voice sounded flat at first, almost emotionless, just repeating the same thing. Another trucker broke in, an older-sounding guy, and warned me not to answer and not to stop. Just keep driving. A couple other voices came on after that, with the same advice. Don't engage, don't respond, just keep moving. The child's voice returned, louder this time, and started describing my exact rig, my truck's color, the trailer type, even the small dent on the front right bumper from the clip. Every detail was spot on. It knew exactly where I was on the route and mentioned the next curves before I reached them. The voice grew more upset, then angry, repeating that I had left it behind and hadn't even stopped. Even though I had stopped, even though I had gotten out and looked, I followed what the other drivers had said and kept my eyes forward, speed steady, refusing to answer or look in the mirrors. The voice kept coming through the radio, sometimes clear, sometimes buried in static, always talking about me and my truck. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore and switched the CB off. The silence that followed felt even worse. A little while later, I started hearing scratching sounds along the outside of the cab. At first it was faint, like maybe a branch scraping the side, but it didn't sound random. It was slow and deliberate, moving along the metal. Then came light tapping near the passenger door that turned into sharper scraping, like fingernails dragging toward my side. I never looked, I just kept driving, eyes locked on the road ahead like the others had warned. At one point, the voice came from right outside my door, clear and close, no static this time. The scratching grew faster and more insistent, like whatever it was wanted in. I didn't breathe easy for what felt like forever. I just held the wheel tight and kept pushing forward. Finally, the sky began to lighten with that dull gray before sunrise. As the light grew, the scratching and the voice both faded away. By the time the sun was fully up, everything was quiet again, and the road felt normal. I pulled into a rest area in the next county and sat there a long time before I got out. When I checked the bumper in the daylight, it was dry. But if you caught it at just the right angle, with the light hitting it, you could still see the faint outlines of those small handprints. I finished the run, but I've never taken that route again. I don't care how many extra hours it adds. I always go around now. And every once in a while, when I'm washing the truck early in the morning or late in the evening, and the light hits the bumper just right, I can still see those prints, faint but still there, like they never really left.